Hello, my name is Nicolas Hartley, and I will be giving a presentation on Latin and its relevance in today's world. Now, the focus of this presentation is on the question, why should I take Latin? This is why. Knowledge of Latin is very important for the following: the Romance languages, or languages derived from Latin, English vocabulary, professional terms, scientific names, and language acquisition. The derivatives of Latin still present today are called the Romance languages. Now, the adjective Romance has nothing to do with its modern connotation. The adjective comes from the place the Latin was originally spoken, Rome. The ending ance only signifies it as an English adjective. Now, these languages are French, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, which is a hybrid of French and Spanish, and Romanian. These languages are spoken in most parts of the world. On the map I am bringing up, every country highlighted with a non-gray color is one in which a Romance language is spoken. About 60% of English vocabulary comes directly from Latin. Let's look at a few examples. The word cave comes from the Latin cavus, meaning empty. The word patriot comes from the Latin patria, meaning country or fatherland. Included in English are also many Latin phrases. Take a look at this list of Latin phrases and see how many you recognize. These are words that we use in everyday English. Have you ever heard of an alibi? That is, in Latin, the state of being elsewhere or absent. De facto means by action. Habeas corpus means you may have the body. And de jure means by law. Now, these are just a few of the over 200 terms and phrases that all lawyers must know in order to be successful at their profession. One who takes Latin could have an easier time learning these phrases later on, having already learned the vocabulary used and the terminology given. In the medical field, there are many terms that come straight from Latin. For example, Rx, which you have probably seen on the signs for pharmacies, stands for take, as in take medicine, for example. Also, there is NB, short for nota bene, which means note well. This term is more often used on prescription bottles to signify any special information about the medicine, possibly harmful side effects. Disease names also come from both Latin and Greek roots. Mono is short for mononucleosis, E. coli is short for Escherichia coli, and strep throat is short for streptococcal pharyngitis. If you are considering a career which interacts with plants or animals, then taking Latin could be a great benefit to you, because all proper animal and plant names are in Latin. Not only does it help in that regard, but also in distinguishing animals with similar common names. Let's take example the robin. In America, it is called the Tortus migratorius. While this is true in America, it does not hold true elsewhere. In Europe, the robin is called the Erytacus rubecula, a different animal altogether. The only reason the two share a common name is due to the fact that they both have a splotch of reddish-orange plumage on their chests. Besides that, the birds share no similar characteristics and are not related at all. Having knowledge of Latin provides to be useful in situations such as these by giving a concise explanation which serves to eliminate confusion on such a matter. Because when dealing with plants and animals, common names often don't consider location. Latin came from a language called Proto-Indo-European spoken about 5,000 years ago by a group of people called the Protoeuropeans, a group of people living in Southeast Europe near where Africa goes into Europe. These were the people that would eventually spread and populate all of Europe. As the Proto-Europeans split into different groups and went to different parts of Europe, the language they spoke changed and eventually split into separate languages. The reason Proto-Indo-European changed like this is because the groups of Proto-Europeans became isolated from each other as each group went to inhabit a different part of Europe. One group would start speaking a dialect of the original language, and another group would speak a different dialect of the same language. As time goes on, language in general always changes. And so these dialects continued to change until the speakers of each could no longer recognize and understand these dialects the other group was speaking. Because of this, Indo-European died out, and its surviving languages continued to evolve, becoming further split into languages spoken today. A few examples of these languages groups are the Germanic languages, which are English, German, Dutch, Danish, Norwegian, etc., the Slavic languages, which are Russian, Ukrainian, Georgian, Belarusian, etc., and the Italic languages, which included Latin originally and became the Romance languages. So due to this evolution of language over time, in almost every country in Europe and the Americas, a Proto-Indo-European based language is spoken. Because Latin came from the same language that most of the European languages came from, it shares similar grammatical structures with those languages, and also contains some shared vocabulary. Let's take a few English words for example. The English word brother is similar to many other Proto-Indo-European based languages. In other languages, it is frater, bruder, brat, frère, and bror. The word sister, compared to the same languages, is soror, schester, sestra, sur, and suster. Because Latin is similar to many other European languages in structure and some limited vocabulary, it is not difficult to learn Latin first and to pick up another spoken language quickly after that. In addition, Latin is somewhat easier to learn as a second language than per se French or Spanish because there is no speaking part. One would never have to devote vast quantities of time when studying Latin to develop an understandable accent or listening comprehension. Because of this, one who takes Latin is able to really study the structure behind the language and get a good feel for what it is like to learn a foreign language. In essence, one who takes Latin not only learns the language, but he or she also learns the process by which you can learn other languages later on. The benefits of taking Latin are numerous. One of the more ostentatious benefits is Latin's effect on SAT scores. Students who take Latin on average score 150 points higher on both reading and mathematics sections of the SAT than compared to the national average of students who do not take Latin. In addition to that, the subject material taught in Latin is exciting. You get to learn all about the Roman Empire, one of the greatest civilizations in recorded history. You get to read first-hand accounts of battle plans, attacks, and impressions from the famous Roman generals, including Caesar himself. You also learn about the politics of Rome during the different periods of rebellion and revolution, and as well as about the murders and trials and conspiracies from their originators themselves. In essence, you get to learn all of the juicy tidbits of Roman history your teachers may have left out. The society we live in is constantly changing. We embrace new technologies and revolutions in thinking, and even encourage this change. Yet all changes, however modern and novel they are, always regard in some way our past, taking into account our successes and our failures in order to provide for a more provident future. The Latin language and the speakers of it have for thousands of years influenced the development of Western civilization and have shaped it as we know it today. Latin therefore applies to almost all fields of study in some way, shape, or form. Also, by taking Latin, you can increase your competence in English and develop your worldly sense of self by learning about another culture, the Roman civilization. So, why not broaden your horizons? Take Latin.